everybody. Welcome to class. This is Lesson 1, Class 1. Let's get to work. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I get a lot of questions about from students. It's concerning will and going to. These are constructions that we use to talk about the future. But I've noticed a lot of people having problems or troubles deciding when to use will and when to use going to. So today I'm going to be showing you some ways that we definitely use will and definitely don't use going to, and then taking a look at the opposite. When are the best times to use going to describe the future? Okay, so let's start with some example sentences. Let's take a look at this. If you do well on the test, I will move you to the next level. If you do well on the test, I will move you to the next level. And that's true. If you study hard, if you do all of these lessons and take a test, you can move on to the next level. That's my promise, okay? And that's the first category of times when we should definitely use will, promises, okay? Here's another example of a promise. If you make dinner, I will wash the dishes. If you make dinner, I will wash the dishes. That's a great plan for a very enjoyable evening. The person is basically saying, you cook, and really I'm going to wash the dishes for you, I promise. Hopefully this person really does this, because if you break a promise like that, that's not very nice. Let's take a look at another category, offers for help. Okay? Here's the example of this. I'll help you study for your GRE on Sunday. I will help you study for your GRE on Sunday. GRE is a very difficult test for those of you who aren't sure what that means. And it is really, really nice to have somebody to help you because it's very difficult. Another example sentence, if you want, I'll help you move to your new home. If you want, I will help you move to your new home. This is also a very difficult task. We have to get some help when we're moving because it's really difficult to do all by ourselves. And so this category, offers for help, is very, very useful for us to know. That's an offer for help. How about asking for help? Let's look at that category. Asking for help. Will you help me paint my new apartment? So now we've moved in, got all the furniture in there, I've got all of my clothes and my baggage. How about now painting it? Will you help me paint my new apartment? This is another way that we use promises and will, but this time it's a question, right? Let's look at a detail about this. Will you help me paint my new apartment is great. It's perfect, it's polite, it's natural, and it's correct. Some people would say this, would you help me paint my new apartment? Using would, which is a modal, is another way that we can say this. It's more formal and it's more polite, but would you help me and will you help me are basically the same thing. Now, if you use be going to in this kind of a sentence, for example, are you going to help me paint my new apartment? This is actually a little bit impolite because it sounds like I really expect you to do that. It almost sounds like I'm ordering you to help me paint my new apartment. And that's not a good way to ask people for favors, I guess, right? So we can see in this category a very specific way that will is the best choice, okay? Let's take a look at the next category, which is predictions about the future, okay? And this is one of these categories where we're now moving to the point that it's sometimes okay to use be going to, and sometimes it's okay to use will. Here's the example, and we can see this being used both ways here. The director says there will be 200 students here by June. I don't think there will be enough books for all of them. That is a prediction, and we can check the prediction by researching last year's numbers, by looking at the registrations coming in, and make a prediction. It's not absolutely definite, but I have a good idea of what's going to happen or what will happen. If we use the other structure for this, be going to, the sentence looks like this. The director says there are going to be 200 students here by June. I don't think there are going to be enough books for all of them. So you can see will and going to, using either one of these is basically the same thing. It's not that big of a difference. So now we're moving into a category where they're similar, okay? Going into the next category, using be going to only is something that we have to pay attention to. It is not that tricky to use, but just like will, sometimes we have to think which one is better, okay? Using be going to for plans or intentions. That's the final category that we're looking at. Plans or intentions. It's a very good idea to use be going to. Look at my example. What are you going to do this weekend? Very popular question. Everybody wants to know what everybody's doing this weekend. What are you going to do this weekend? This question sounds very awkward if we say, what will you do this weekend? Because it sounds like I'm saying there's only one choice about what your activities will be. What are you going to do opens it up a bit and says there are many possibilities. I have plans, I have intentions, but anything could happen, right? My answer for a question like this, what are you going to do, can also show us the difference between will and going to. Here's the answer. I am going to New York to visit my friends. We are going to walk around in Central Park, and then we are going to see a festival in Chinatown. That sounds like a fantastic weekend. Using these forms, I am going to New York, I am going to walk in Central Park, I am going to see a festival, says that these are my plans and my hopes for the future, but I'm not absolutely sure. If I say I will go to New York, I will walk in Central Park, and I will see a festival in Chinatown, sounds to me like there are no possibilities that this won't happen. And as we know, plans for the weekend sometimes change. Plans for anything in the future sometimes change. So using be going to is a very nice way to indicate that I have some flexibility and some openness on what could possibly happen. Okay? So that's the difference between will and going to talk about the future. I know that these differences are a bit tricky, and I think that, like I said at the beginning of class, students often get confused. But if you think about these categories, when you're speaking or when you're writing, you'll be in pretty good shape to figure out when you want to use one or the other, or when it's okay to use either one, okay? So take a look at these. I hope that you enjoyed the class. I hope that the information is helpful to you. And as you move through this lesson, you'll be able to see this structure being used in some different ways for different topics, in addition to getting some more information about different ways to use the future tense. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.